Hi, welcome to Miss Richardson's U.S. History 5-minute lectures. This information will be U.S. Note 6.1, Society of the 80s and 90s. It includes information that aligns with the first section on your Unit 6 study guide. Now remember, you have control of the lecture, so pause and write down any questions you need, rewatch as often as you need, and use your study guide to help you take your notes. Let's go ahead and get started. First, let's review some basic overarching themes that society went through in the decades leading up to the 80s. In the 50s, conformity was the overall goal, with a few groups like the Beatniks challenging that status quo. Then, in the 60s, America saw change as hippies and the civil rights movement, the environmental movement, all the other groups, those began to happen and they wanted change, societal change. These and other groups challenged the status quo and reframed the decade, including creating music with a message of social change and betterment. Then, in the 70s, society shifted yet again. The 70s are known as the me decade and became more about changing yourself than changing society. Self-help books became popular, as did cults. Disco was the music of choice. It was fun, but there was no real message behind it. And now we're to the 80s. Materialism and money became more and more popular. People stopped focusing on changing society or themselves. Money was king, and the 80s are called the decade of decadence. There's even a movie out there that says, "Greed is good, Wall Street." There was a lack of social concerns during the period as well. Most music lacked a message and was more about getting rich. Pop music like Madonna, Michael Jackson, and Prince became popular. Hip-hop and techno also evolved from the disco and R&B movements in the 70s. The use of technology increased, as you could see in the music, and even in movies in their special effects. Blockbusters really first came out in the 80s, as did several horror films like Nightmare on Elm Street, or when we talk about special effects, E.T. in the 80s. Many of the movies catered to teens for the first time. In fact, one group of teens became used regularly in popular movies, earning the name the Brat Pack. So there are in a lot of the John Hughes movies like The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, and a lot of those other movies. Pretty in Pink. Other technology advancements included video games, from arcades of the late 70s to Atari with games like Pac-Man and Frogger in the early 80s, and even to the first Nintendo in 1985. So to profit off these new interests, television expanded with more channels, including channels like MTV. They actually played videos back then, and more cartoons. Previously, cartoons had been a Saturday morning only ritual. Now they were available more often. This continued into the 90s with animated sitcoms like The Simpsons and other sitcoms as well. These and teen shows dominated the 90s television. For example, Saved by the Bell, Beverly Hills 90210, and Dawson's Creek. Technology of the 90s expanded rapidly as well. Nearly all households had computers by the end of the 90s, and this allowed video games to grow even more in popularity. 3D graphics added to the desire for more and better videos and games, and more companies came out with more different technology leading up to the console wars. Sega versus Nintendo versus PlayStation. Which would get the most buyers and consumers? Movies at the time included this technology as well. Huge blockbusters like Titanic with incredible special effects were released. And the first full-length CGI film, computer animated film, Toy Story, was released. In the 90s, attitudes shifted and people, especially the young people, became more concerned with social issues and activism. They saw the greed of the 80s and wanted something different. Groups fighting for better human rights around the world, better treatment of women, and taking care of the environment all developed during this time. Music reflected these changes and the disillusionment of many young people with the previous generation of the 80s. Grunge depicts the unhappiness of many youth. Gangster rap, boy bands, and country pop also became popular, blending groups together. And this is the end of US Note 6.1. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in class with any questions you have.